Okay, why don't we call the Finance Commission meeting for May 12th to order? Our other members will be joining us, I'm sure, shortly. We have several departments that we were scheduled to meet with this evening. Two of the department managers are here with us now. So I think we'll start with the Human Resources Department since Stacy was first in. Stacy, if you want, can you just do a little overview of your department and your budget, and we'll answer, we'll pose questions as they come along.
Okay, well, it's going to be short and sweet for me. My budget is pretty level. I don't have any changes. Everything's staying the same. I did ask for a small increase for my coworker, the benefits coordinator, but I know with everything going on, I was told that that wasn't going to be possible. Other than that, everything is the same from FY20 to FY21.
Okay. Anybody have any comments or questions? Okay. Has the COVID-19 had an impact on your department, on your daily operations?
It's making it a little bit difficult just because it's also during open enrollment. So the school and town employees, have to kind of do everything via email or phone calls for their health changes and life insurance changes. The GIC was nice enough that they've extended the open enrollment to June 1st, when usually it would have actually already been over by now. Some of the other vendors have also extended it to the end of May. Christine and I have been just kind of going into the office once or twice a week opposite each other to make sure we've got paperwork, coming in and going out in to meet the deadlines. The GIC also switched from us having to do everything on paper a few months before this. So everything's electronic and everything up on the website. So every form that the employees need is accessible online. But, some of their questions aren't easily answered via email. So that's the bump in the road that we just, do a lot of telephone calls and connecting with each other that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Anybody else have any questions?
Just one quick one. Do you think your training line item is sufficient for any new trainings we may need going forward with this virus?
To be honest with you, I just got that training line increased last budget year. And with everything that's going on, it was hard for me to even set goals for, the upcoming year because I was so focused on how we're going to be able to transition everybody back and make sure that they feel that they're in a safe environment and how we're going to keep each other, safe and distant and follow requirements. So, with the training money that's in there, that's supposed to be split between me and Christine. So it is a small amount, and I've been checking the Maya webpage, and I really don't even know what trainings they'll be offering and how we would be able to do them. A lot of them might be webinars, which tend to be a little bit cheaper. But, a little bit more money in the training line would always be helpful.
Would any of the emergency funds from the state or the federal government cover any of those training costs?
They might. I don't know. I know that a lot of it right now is going towards a lot of stuff that, for, Terry, some of the other departments, the bigger departments for the first responders. I don't know too much of how the state money is going to be delegated, but that's probably a possibility. The other thing that I forgot about that I did want to bring up is I have a postage line. It's very small though. I can't read this. I think it's only like a couple $100, $500. So that postage line, I actually don't need anymore because of the fact that, like I said, GIC isn't making us mail everything into them anymore. Everything's electronic through DocuSign. And I don't know how. I did, present it to Anna asking if I could move that 500 to a different line. And so I guess that's something I bring to you guys. If I could move it to a different line, and it was possible, I have had Christine for a couple years now without being able to give her any sort of merit increase. So if that could be moved to Christine, that would be wonderful. But either way, the $500 for postage does, I know it's pennies, but it's not, I don't need it that amount anymore because it was all for the GIC.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, Stacy, well, thank you very much. We heard your concerns here and we'll take it into consideration.
All right, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you. Ray, the Veterans Agent, let's go to your budget if you'd like.
Yep. Thank you for having me. So I did ask for an increase for me because of all the hours that I work, but I understand we're not getting that. So it is what it is. I'm a solo department, like a couple other departments. I sent it to Carla, the common claims that we use, the forms.
Yes, we got that.
So you could see why a claim, even the smallest of claims, takes anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours to do. And a lot of my population is older, so doing stuff, if I hand them the form and say, fill this out and bring it back to me, they're not going to do it. They're absolutely not. They're not online. If they even have a cell phone, it's usually a flip phone and it's off. So I know we're trying to move into the automation, but that just doesn't work with my clientele, unfortunately. The postage, so at the JFK right now, because we're so close to the JFK building, I would drop off all my claims. Now, because of COVID, we have to mail them. Well, I have 3 claims that are in my office right now. Each one is a copier box size. So that is not feasible for me to mail that. That would cost, $75 or $100. So I'm trying to hold off on that, hoping that the restrictions lighten up a little bit so I could still drop off at the JFK building where I was so close. That's why my postage budget was always so small, because I would hand carry everything. And I have 2 kids that work in Boston, so they would always hand carry my files in for me too. So I do have, right now the VA is not doing any claims unless they're veterans who are at end of life or who are just in need. So that's for the claims part. Then the biggest part of my job, which is what I'm mandated to do, is the Chapter 115. Are you all familiar with the Chapter 115 benefit? It's a benefit that every city and town in Massachusetts has. Massachusetts is the only state that does it. It's for veterans or their surviving spouses or their surviving disabled children who are low income, and it's a stipend that they get. And it's based on a formula and an application. And that's reimbursable to the town 75%. Unfortunately, it's a year later, but it's still reimbursable by 75%. That I cannot do remotely. The veteran has to be sitting with me, and that takes an average of 2 to 3 hours to do. When I scan and send it in, the application itself is only 10 pages. However, the supporting documents, I just mailed one in a couple of weeks ago, and I had to scan in 50 pages. So I have to break it up because of the scanning capabilities here, and at DVS. So I'm not sure. I'm trying to hold off on the postage, asking for an increase, because like I said, I'm hoping things relax a little bit and I can hand carry stuff in. The other thing is, we don't get cell phone stipends anymore. I was given a cell phone, but it was an iPhone, and I hate iPhones, and I'm really not comfortable giving my number out to veterans, because if you know veterans, they are awake at midnight, 1, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I know this. And I was getting a lot of phone calls at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I would answer them because I would think it was an emergency, there was something going on. So I gave myself the cell phone that was issued to me, I gave it back to the town. So I am using my own cell phone. Steve at DPW asked that I add the flag budget back into my budget. And this is totally, we just discussed this week, for the town flags. So town cemeteries, and like the ball field, stuff like that. The flags that he buys for town hall, it's a $5,000 a year cost. And I would still ask that he make and put them up and be responsible and order them, because he gets a good price. But we're asking that it would come out of my budget instead of his budget. We still ask the school to buy their own and the individual town departments to buy their own. But the town hall ones, that's a pretty expensive flag at town hall. I do have a flag and memorial supplies on my line item, and that is for the grave flags and the memorial flags that you see around. And this year, the Union Jack flags were donated by Rich Honan, and that was of $600. So he donated them. Another thing is my Chapter 115 caseload has gone down, and that's because when a veteran comes into my office, if I can put him or her in for a disability claim, I do it. That doesn't apply to spouses unless they were married to a wartime vet and they died of their service connection disability. So that's why I also had a few deaths this past couple weeks. I've had 9 deaths total of veterans. So which was hard, and it's wearing. It's wearing a lot. And I mean, one veteran went in for a mental health issue. They found out that his medicine needed some tweaking, so they sent him to a rehab for a few days to tweak his medicine, and he never made it out of there. So, so that's what I'm dealing with on the emotional side.
Okay, thank you, Rose, appreciate it. Anybody have any questions for Rose?
Just one, Rose, and thank you for all you do. You do a great job up there.
Thank you.
They used to give flags out from the, you used to call you congressperson, and they used to give flags that were flown over the Capitol or anything. Sometimes it sent you a few. Is that program still available?
Yeah, it's very political, and it's not very often. So when I can grab a flag from somewhere, I do. I've even repaired flags on my own that, you know, people turn into me and they don't look that bad. But you're allowed to hem up to 4 inches. So if it's just tatted on the edge, I usually hem it up and I reuse the flag.
Is that something maybe the council could send her a letter and get the congresswoman to do that?
Sure. That would be great.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, again, Rose, thank you for your time and explaining your busy day. Appreciate it.
I just want to talk about how COVID has affected my office.
Yes.
I still get veterans banging on the door outside because they know where my office is, and so I'm taking in paperwork through the door and whatnot. But as far as the social distancing, I'm in my office every day. I have too many files to bring home, and they're not online. I just don't know how that will work because a veteran has to sit across from me, and I have to take the notes. I have to do the typing. I have to do all that. Other than wearing masks, I mean, that's the best we could do here. A lot of them, I have been checking in on a lot of them, and I've been working with Mia Mori and the community food bank with my own food bank and supplying meals to veterans, and just doing a well-being check. It was sad the other day I checked on one of my veterans who's going to be 99 this year, and he's having a hard time, and he was an Army Air Force fighter pilot, and he's 100% disabled, and he said, I don't know why God is keeping me on this earth as long as he is. So that kind of tugs at me. So we're doing a lot of well-being checks on our veterans. I work closely with the American Legion Post 146, and we all have our assignments on who we checking in on with. Also, the flags have not been placed on the graves yet because the family that has been doing it for over 25 years told us today that they weren't able to do it. So I have a meeting on Monday, and we're going to discuss when we're putting the flags out. So I'll probably send out for volunteers to help flag the graves. So, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you again. Thank you for all the work you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The next budget, I know I saw Al Legee. Al, are you here?
Yes, I am. Hi, how are you?
Hi,
Nice to meet
good,
you.
good. So we'll go to inspectional services now. Al, you want to talk a little bit about the department and your budget, financial component?
Sure. So we would have came in front of you and said status quo, basically, because we know the town is in need for funds and things are tough in this new fiscal year coming forward. But now, facing coronavirus and things that have transpired, I'm going to actually look for more funds to keep my inspectors, and I actually would like to extend their hours. I mean, through the coronavirus, inspectional services have stayed open. We've given out permits. We've answered, complaints in, certain areas of town, whether they were in restaurants, whether they were in private homes, multiple unit buildings. So we were able to, sustain through this whole situation. And in the last 4 weeks, if I went back 4 to 5 weeks ago, I had 26 permits. Now I have 136. So we were able to issue 100 permits safely. We got them out. We got them to people. We actually handled them to mailboxes. And that's where we actually stand right now. I would like to extend a couple of my inspectors' hours because we're not sure what's going to be, coming forward to us with this virus. We don't know where we're going to be in September. We don't know if it's going to spike through the roof. We have no idea. It's uncertain right now. The stats are going down, but they can increase, and they can increase quickly, as we all know. Mm-hmm. So with that all being said, I mean, I hate to come forward in this fiscal time, and I know the town is going to be, in fiscal jeopardy in the next upcoming year or so because of what's going on. But at some point, we have to realize I'm a certified health inspector. I'm a certified building commissioner. My inspectors are certified, and they actually have been in the field for, several years, and they're very competent. So we're going to need at some point to take these part-time individuals and increase their hours to make the town safe. I've been very fortunate to work along with Chief Delahanty, Steve Calla, Paul Flanagan, especially Meredith Hurley, and be directly, connected to EOC. We check in daily with them. We get emails from them, about building permits, issues in, housing. Don't forget, we do have multiple, buildings here. We have the Temple on Veterans Road. We have the Dalrymple. I mean, so these are things that we are facing. We've been able to sustain, and we've been able to bring in revenue through this, which is amazing. When you think other towns like Everett, Boston, I mean, I keep going, Somerville, have pretty much shut down through the whole coronavirus. They're kind of up and running now, or starting to up and running with hazmat plans, which we're in the process of creating. So I would really like to see on what we can do to kind of like get a little bit of revenue put aside to help inspectional services move forward to extend the part-time inspectors' hours to be able to be in the field and to making sure that our housing is safe, and especially our restaurants are safe, and any businesses that are opening, they're also safe. So that's what I'm kind of trying to figure out. Obviously, I will work with Anna, and have, speak with her more going forward on what I will need for my department and how far forward we will go with my department, and also with human resources, because they would have to weigh on this if we are extending hours. I would definitely look for Stacy, her help and her guidance in this. So that's basically what we stand. So our budget can't be status quo this year. As much as I wanted to say it was status quo, give it back to the town, have no issues, say yes, we're status quo. We'll take it on the chin. We'll do our best to keep everything down so we can move forward, because we know that, when we're in financial difficulty in the upcoming years. So that's basically where I stand on the situation at hand.
Okay, that's very good, succinct way of putting it. Do you have any idea yet of the additional funds?
I don't. That's why I would look to work with, our CFO and assistant town manager, and work directly with our human resource director, because that's where I need to really figure out what our role is going to be, how much, we're going to extend ourselves. But obviously we have to extend ourselves because, you just can't walk in a restaurant. Anybody can say they can walk in a restaurant, they can count 5 people. But wouldn't you rather have an inspector come in and walk in a restaurant and count 5 people and see that there's a head of lettuce next to a bed of chicken on a table with cross-contamination and prevent some type of foodborne illness or some type of building violation? You want the people that are certified, have the discipline and the experience to be out there in the field, not people that can go and count. I understand that's, some of the people's opinion moving forward, that anybody can go count 5 people, but that's fine. Go count 5 people. But what about the 5 or 6 violations you might miss counting those 5 people? And how we could say the last thing this town needs is some type of foodborne illness outbreak and in the midst of a corona epidemic. I mean, and I think that you all would feel the same. Last thing, again, You have coronavirus, you have an outbreak. We have everybody being sick. The last thing we need is salmonella poisoning, E. coli poisoning, or any type of that situation going on here. So with that all being said, I would really like to come to the table and figure out, moving forward, to make my department obviously in the front line, to make sure that things are expected properly. And another thing too is that nobody, I don't care who it is, has the right to do an occupant count. I'm a certified building commissioner. I'm the one that can sign off on any occupancy. And that goes with, say, that state statute, can look it up. Not even a local building inspector can sign off on that. So that's basically what I'm looking for. I want to just try to be proactive. Again, work along strictly with Anna, work along with Stacy, figure out what the role is moving forward. If there's funding, what we'll need. Right now, it's uncertain. I don't know what the governor's going to come back on. We don't know what the stats are going to be. Are they going to go up even higher? Are they going to come down? Are we going to have a big spike in maybe potentially September, October? So it's kind of uncertain. So I'm coming forward in front of you folks, and I'm asking for help. At the same time, I don't know what help I need because I don't know where we're going to be. So I just would like the finance committee to keep this in mind, in the back of the head, if they would please do. Thank you.
We definitely will, and we work with Anna on the budgets all the time. So as you work with her and Stacy, they'll give us the information we need to consider what you'd like to do. Anybody have any other comments or questions?
Thank you.
Nobody has anything? Okay. All right. We'll move on to our next. Oh, somebody has something?
Bob, Jim, I did have something. So if Al's still here, he is.
Hey, Jim, I'm here.
So I know you're looking for something. You said it a couple, but what, you know, I think we need something to go on. So if we were to able to help you out, we know what we're looking for. Like, are we looking for another part-time code enforcer? Do you know what you're looking for?
Basically, what I would like to do is take my part-time code enforcer and move him forward into a full-time position. I'll check in these places of assembly. I also would like to have a little bit of money put aside to help out with my chief building inspector, to also move forward in the extra hours that I would need him to move forward. We just haven't had a time to really calculate it because we don't know where we're going to end up being. We don't know what is going to come back as far as the statute, from the governor passed down to local. So it's kind of uncertain. So it's kind of hard to kind of put like a figure on that amount of time, how many hours, but I would definitely need to at least, at bare minimum, bring the code enforcer that's part-time, 2 days a week, to a full-time status. That would be a huge help right off the beaten path. And that's probably about another 30 or 40,000 in my budget.
Okay, and I apologize if I asked something that's already been discussed.
Please do.
On the meeting, but on here it's showing code enforcer part-time and then another code enforcer paid out of a stipend. Where's that?
Yes, we have.
Where's that stipend?
Yes, we do. We have Mark Van Buskirk, and he's also a part-time
code enforcer. Okay.
He works on weekends and nights, as you know. Yeah. And luckily we've had Mark has, been able to stop several jobs on the weekend when people are not here, and we've been able to police people in and get permits. And it's not even just like right now, as the times are, it's not even about just getting them in, doing the stop work, double feeding these people. It's really about right now making sure that these jobs are done correctly and the social distances, they're following hazmat plans. Right now, I'm in the process of making up a full hazmat plan that will be attached to every single building permit moving forward. And what we're going to probably do is backdate our building permits and try to figure out where we are and send out that same hazmat plan. I have Chief Delahanty looking at it, and I have, our expert Meredith Hurley looking at it. And I'm really anxious to see what Meredith comes back, because I'm obviously going to follow Meredith's footsteps. Whatever Meredith says, basically, is where we'll go as far as that hazmat plan goes. But that's another thing that's in the works right now as we're speaking.
Okay, so those two code enforcements, it says two code enforcers part-time.
Yes.
They're not.
Yep.
They don't have the same availability. Correct? One of them is much more available than the other. Is that accurate?
So basically, Mark, as you know, works with police and does this. He, is also our dog officer. And the great thing about him, he's floating around town during the week, so he's catching people. He's around in the weekends working, catching people. He's checking with ISD constantly. And the part-time code enforcer that we have now was mainly doing code enforcement and housing, but we're not really doing the housing right now. We're not doing habitable inspections no more. As you know, Jim, we don't want to be in occupied properties thickly occupied properties because we don't want to get ourselves sick and obviously not get anybody else sick. So that kind of has settled down, but what we really do need is that code enforcer out every day, checking jobs, driving the town, making sure people have masks, making sure there's social distances on these projects that are moving forward, and even going in and counting, doing the occupancy counts on restaurants also moving forward. So this is going to be, extremely beneficial to us moving forward if this thing keeps moving in the way it's supposed, it's protected, but the way it's supposed to be moving, So that's basically where we stand. Sorry. I get a little tongue twisted.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Al?
No.
Okay, Al, thank you very much. We hear what you're saying, and
Thank you.
again, we'll work with Anna.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Just a question, is there anybody here representing the MIS department at the moment?
A member of the public may have wanted to speak, if that was appropriate.
Oh, sure.
Hold on one second. Wendy?
Hi there. This question's actually for Al. Are you still there, Al?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Al. This is Wendy Millar Page.
Hey, Wendy, how are you?
I'm hanging in. How are you?
Same, trying the same thing.
Yeah. So I've been working in another city, and we have had some meetings in terms of restaurant openings, compliance, the FDA checklists, those kind of things. Do we have those? Is that something that you are covering, or Board of Health is covering with your hours?
No, so basically how the Board of Health is made up now is I'm a certified restaurant inspector in the town. So I inspect the restaurants, and what we've been doing through this whole coronavirus epidemic, we've been checking restaurants. I've been personally checking the restaurants myself to make sure that they're following protocol with their takeout. So what we do is like during the week, I'll make rounds every other week for certain restaurants that are open because not everybody is open through this, unfortunately. And I also been going out myself and Mark from Buskirk in with police probably once, at least once a week, also checking in the evenings to make sure that protocol is followed, that people wear masks coming into the premises, and that people serving are wearing masks. And we also set an occupant load for certain restaurants. Like certain restaurants might have 3 people serving. Another restaurant might have 9 people serving for takeout. And we've been checking that also, spot checking. So that's pretty much our protocol that we've been kind of developed off the wing since this whole thing has started. We've kind of been staying with. And I'm sure, EOC, Murph Hurley, our Department of Public Health, as she's the health director, and our Board of Health maybe make changes down the road on that. But pretty much that's what we've been doing all along.
Okay, anything else?
My question really pertains to what's going to be happening, let's say after Monday when we all find out a little more.
Well, I think right now there will be a protocol. The town, along with Public Health, Meredith, Chief Terrence Delahanty, we will move forward to make a plan, and we will have these restaurants obviously fill this plan out prior to opening and prior to having people coming into the restaurant. So there will be a protocol put in place. We're not just going to let anybody open without no protocol. There will be a protocol. They'll have to fill out the proper documentation, and there will be inspections throughout the week,
And
unannounced, obviously.
that would then add to your budget is what I'm getting at.
Absolutely. I'm sure it would. We'll be involved in that whole situation. It definitely will.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay, again, Al, thank you.
Thank you so much. It was nice seeing you folks.
Same here. Have a good evening.
Same to you.
Thanks, Al.
Thank
We
you.
have, the question I was asking earlier is there anybody from the MIS department here this evening?
That I can cover MIS and happy to do that tonight or whenever works best for you all.
Okay, do you want to do it now, Anna? It's not a big budget, I just.
Sure. Or do we? I know there are other department heads on the phone. I'm happy to go at the end since I'll be with you anyway. So maybe Diane and Stacy and others they may be more eager to present.
Okay, we do have 2 left. Diane Wallace and Sean Driscoll. Diane, you've been here since the very
Sean.
beginning. Pardon me? Did you say
Hi,
go to
nice
Sean?
to see everybody.
Okay. Would you
You
like
ready
to
for me?
present your budget?
Sure.
And just so you
Sure.
know, just so you know, we did get the letter, the email that you sent through Karen. We all circulated that, so we all got it.
Oh, super, super. That's what I was gonna use that to highlight. FY19 is the last year that we have full statistics for, so that's what I always use. And it was a fantastic year. We had programming for kids almost daily, sometimes twice a day. We had materials went out. It was actually a couple hundred decrease from the year before, but still good numbers. And this year was looking amazing. Up through February, we had a 23% increase in materials going out of the library. That also counts when people check out ebooks and audiobooks by the app. And that's been growing tremendously, especially now. More than doubled the number of people that signed up for new library cards last year, which I just noticed that number yesterday, and that's fantastic. But we did do a couple of programs with the school system and sent home applications with kids, and got a lot of kids and parents in for a couple of programs. So that was very helpful. 456 total programs in FY19. I hadn't counted up in FY20 what we'd done, but the programs are very popular, especially for children and families. People enjoy coming to something that doesn't cost them anything. They can hang out in the library. They don't have to spend any money or buy anything. It's great. So we have had full certification now for at least 4 years. I've been here 5, so it's been great. Great to have the staff. I always would wish for more, because if we had more staff, we could do more programs and have more hours, but we can manage with what we have. So even though I asked for it, I know I'm not going to get it. And I do have some surplus money in my personnel line for this current year, because I had some openings and they weren't filled right away. So I have some money there to save you for this year. Summer reading last year was a huge success. The children's librarians came up with a totally different program. It was super cheap. The kids loved it. It gave them more and more reasons to come to the library. Traditionally, for many years, kids would sign up once and then we wouldn't see them again until the end of the summer. They might come back in and check off a sheet that they read how many books. But this was something where they had to keep coming back in to earn. They earned beads, and the parents loved it because the kids could trade like 5 2-point beads and get a 10-point bead, and they were doing math, and they was trying to get special beads, and it was and actually we probably spent $50 on beads, and the friends paid for it. So it's killing us right now to have the doors closed, but we do have a lot of electronic resources that people are making great use of. And we try to throw out anything we can on Facebook to keep people, give them things to do at home, and so they don't forget about us. That's a general overview. There's not much of an increase. There's actually no increase in the budget. I honestly am not familiar with the exact numbers. I just know it's pretty much level funded. And the copy I have in front of me has a very tiny printing.
I think it's like a $2,700.
Oh, right. Anna had that in her, right. And some of that is contractual, I believe. And whenever anything goes up, we have to spend 15% of our budget on materials for the public. So there always has to throw a little bit more money in that line. But nothing crazy in here. Nothing. We saved a ton of money, a lot more than we thought, especially being closed on electric and heat. We've tried to reduce our postage use, and we try to convince more and more patrons to use email, because it's it's automated. If we check in the book and it comes in for Bob Wynn, and it will shoot out an email if you're signed up with an email. But if you're not, then we have to put it aside, call you, and all that. So we try and get more and more people to get onto email. And of course, Noble is a huge, our membership in the Noble network is huge. They provide so much value for the money that we do trainings all the time. They're included in the costs. They do tech support, and, we can have a problem and they'll be there in an hour. And I never have any complaints about the Noble staff. They're amazing. They're very proactive. They're always looking out ahead for things that will save us money. We have open source software, which the other networks that do not have open source, they spend a lot of money on proprietary software. And every time they want to add, if they want to add, like we're considering putting in a self-checkout in one of the phases of our reopening. And if you didn't have open source, you have to pay to have another license to have another station. Well, we don't have to do that with open source. And the Noble Network people have already figured out how to do it. I just have to find an extra computer, an extra scanner, and we can set it up, no extra cost. So we're formulating plans for phasing reopening. So that's a big overview. Anything
Okay.
I
Thank you.
missed?
No,
I don't know why this is more nerve-wracking than being in front of you.
I know, we all wish we were in the same room together, but
Yeah.
that was very, very complete and comprehensive. We appreciate it. Just to make sure, I think you said this, but I want to be sure, there's enough funds in the budget for library materials so that we will continue to qualify for state aid. Is that correct?
Well, there's almost enough, but I supplement with donated funds, and that puts us to the right amount. To be
Okay.
totally funded by the town, it would be like 89,000. And I think it's around 82 in the budget, but I do have donated funds that we can use. And I've been doing that now for 3 years.
Okay,
So-
very good. Thank you.
And we're allowed to count that.
All right. Any other questions or comments for Diane?
It's Karen, just a comment.
Hi, Karen.
I did do one of your programs over the winter, and that was the Instapot, how to use it. And I have to
Yeah.
say, if anybody, wants to learn how to do something and they offer it, please take advantage of it, because I really learned how to use it.
Oh, good.
Good.
Yes, she's an amazing chef. We have her like once a year, and she's very popular, and she's doing some online programming. So we're going to line her up for that too. It probably should be less expensive, but she's totally worth it. Thanks for letting me know, Karen.
Just have one comment.
Bob, I have one question.
Diane, how you doing?
I know what you're going to say.
Well, I'm sorry we didn't come through last year for the roof, but it's in the budget again this year, and hopefully it'll happen. So just, I appreciate you being patient and tolerant of that situation, but it looks like it's going to get done this year. So
Thank you. We still
reassure you.
have some plastic and some buckets in key locations, and we're
I
keeping our
know.
fingers crossed. So thank you for staying on top of that.
welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? No? All right, Diane, we thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Please stay well.
Oh, wait, a minute, we might have another caller coming
Question?
in. It might be for you. I don't know
Okay.
exactly how to work this. Carla, are you there? Huh?
I'm here, Bob, but I don't see any other hands up.
Yeah, it's,
I do see a question. I could read
It's
if
a
you'd like
question.
it. I know that the library shares its custodian with other buildings.
Oh,
Oh,
Will
there
this
it is.
need to be increased?
that's one of my trustees. That's Gillian Texera. And she's probably thinking about COVID-19. And we've already been told that the building department is going to help us assess our workspaces and help us to configure. So I don't think any of that would come out of my budget. I think they're doing it for everybody.
Yes, there will be we're working on a centralized effort to assess what departments would need in response to COVID-19 from a cleaning perspective and other potential modifications. So that's something that is underway as we're working through scenario planning for what sort of reopening phases would look like going forward. Sort of separate from that, just the day-to-day custodial services for the library. We actually have adjusted where the library had some funds there previously. I think that the perspective there had been those hadn't been sort of fully sort of meeting the need for the library. And so what we've done is actually condensed those custodial funds over at the building maintenance department in an effort to maximize those resources so that folks can do bulk purchasing and our building maintenance department can more strategically manage cleaning of all the buildings, particularly those that are public facing. So we hope that that'll be a more sustainable approach to dealing with maintenance issues, custodial issues at the library and elsewhere.
Thanks, Anna.
Anybody else have any questions? No? All right. Again, Diane, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. So we'll go now to the Parks and Recreation, Sean Driscoll, and go over his budget. Sean, you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Hope everyone's good. Hope everyone's healthy, staying healthy. Just a little, obviously, with everything going on, a little different situation for us. As you know, we run an enterprise fund and we take a lot of averages from the last 3 years on revenue and expenses. And going up until March 13th, we were really having a great season, a great year here with numbers up and a lot of things, summer program approaching. And obviously everything came to a halt on that awful Friday the 13th when we got word. But with that said, we still, Anna and I went through the budget back in February and one time in January, and we made some minor adjustments to our indirect costs as well as some of the payroll stuff that was missing, like longevity and things like that. But overall, where we're at, and there's a lot of questions in the recreation world. We've been working a lot with the Recreation Association, both nationally and locally, for ideas and thoughts on how this is going to play out. And right now, as a department, we're in a holding pattern, waiting to see, what kind of guidelines come out. Can we do it? Can we not do it? Is it going to be too much? I talked with Meredith Hurley through some ideas of hers so far about what we're thinking about doing. We basically have 3 or 4 different scenarios that we haven't really put out there yet until we get some guidance from the Mass State Health Commission as well as Meredith. And, a lot depends on what the schools do going forward, especially in the summer with their programming. I've had some talks with Kathy Del Vento from the school that runs a 21st century program very similar to ours. And, we've already kind of agreed to do things together this summer. If we could have a summer and help each other out and try to be stronger as one, because there's going to be some hesitant to go to a camp, or go to a park program, or go to a program without really a vaccine or a cure. With kids and stuff, and this new thing coming out with Kawasaki, that's been a couple of bullet points I got today on an email from National Rec dealing with kids. So we're kind of up in the air. So this budget was kind of prepared, like I said, by Anna and myself leading up to all this. And we thought we had a really good grip on the numbers, but obviously we're going to take a hit here one way or another. So it's not the forecast that I was expecting. And I think as the year goes on, we'll have to make some adjustments based on what we can do for programming. And again, being an enterprise fund is tough. We do pay a lot back to the town in indirect costs, which is about 20% of our budget, which really makes it a little higher. But I will say I'm proud of my staff. I'm proud of the people we had. I'm thankful for Massport. As they said, if we have a program, they will be funding some jobs this year. Last year, we hired over 68 college and high school kids to work. And we had a lot of success. And this normally would be our busiest time, getting ready for that and having our spring programs, getting our concerts ready. So it's been pretty disappointing. My staff now, I have one in the office pretty much 4 out of the 5 days a week, trying to plan program, talk to other rec directors and get organized here. So we're ready to go. And myself and my program coordinator, we've been up and very active, obviously, with the food pantry, trying to keep that going, using our van and that type of thing, and that's been taking a lot of time. So we're hoping to be able to have a program come July 1st, if not sooner. We're hoping for some guidance, within the next couple of weeks. I've been in touch with the governor's office, and they have a lieutenant governor's office, and they had made some commitments to us that we're going to have guidelines for summer camps and any type of programming we want to offer to see how we can do it. So we do have some options, and I think we've worked pretty hard up to today trying to come up with a scenario that might fit everyone. We have over about 185 kids in our program every summer. So with that said, the budget is pretty much level funded from last year, except an additional 5,000. And if you look on the sheet there, it's basically for a longevity increase. And our numbers went up in the after-school program, which is great. So we increased that salary line by 5,000. Not sure if that's going to be accurate. So we're really on the kind of budget as you go, I think, going into next year, not knowing what we got. So I'm sure you have a lot of questions and thoughts on it, but it's been tough to manage the last couple of months.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Comments or questions from Commission?
Yeah, thanks, Sean, for that. And this has to be one of the hardest budgets to try to forecast right now. And maybe even a question for Anna, if you're there, Anna. Where it's an enterprise fund, and there's such a big question on what Sean's going to be able to do. Are we still going to be required as a town? I mean, if Sean can't run a summer program and it falls $100,000 short in revenues through no fault of his own, is that going to be an expense that the town is just going to have to eat, basically? Are there going to be any, is that going to be considered an emergency thing that's going to go past the COVID, or do we know that?
So there's a little bit of an open item. So in a normal year, we wouldn't be dealing with that situation. If an enterprise fund budget ran a deficit at the end of the year, that's something the general fund would have to accommodate, which would affect our free cash calculation. We are working to push the state to pass legislation that would allow those deficits to roll with the enterprise funds and not hit our free cash calculations, because the rating agencies we're not sure what level of sympathy they necessarily will have for communities going through this type of situation. So we're pushing for change at the state level on that with the DLS. So basically what would happen would be that the goal that we are trying to advocate for is for any deficit that's incurred because of loss of revenue, because we had to cancel a bunch of programs when we wouldn't have a deficit if we had run the programs. If that's something that can just carry with the enterprise fund, and then eventually when the enterprise fund catches up in the future, when we're back to sort of a normal schedule, that it would just sort of get cleaned up at that point. So I don't know yet if there's an appetite for that. There's a call. Austin and I have a municipal finance call on Tuesday of next week, and this is one of the items I think we're talking about. I think there's a group of municipalities that are working to get together to put some fiscal priorities up in front of the state and really push for some changes to make things more sustainable for all of us. So that's a very long answer to say it's a bit open-ended right now about what the actual impact of that would be in terms of how it would interact with the general fund or not right now.
Okay.
Bob, it's Karen.
Yes, Karen, go ahead.
Sean, it's Karen Chavez.
Hi.
Funding from Massport for FY21, have you heard anything, or are you going to say you're not going to get it?
Yes, no, they committed to us, based on us committing to them, we were going to have a program similar to what we've done in the past. And that's our goal. So right now, we filled out the required application, and they pretty much are just waiting asked for a couple weeks to get some guidance to tell them what we can do, and if they will fund it. I'm 98% sure they're going to fund something after speaking with them. So that's the good news in all this. And a little bit of good news, and I was talking to Anna about this morning. We're probably going to have a trouble closing out the year, but we do have a little bit of savings in our account from last year that might help soften the blow a little bit. Yeah, to answer your question, Karen, the Massport thing, I believe, is going to be there. It's a matter of what we can do and what the cost is to do it, because there is going to be cost of, talking to my custodian here at the old middle school that works with us, what we're going to need for the indoor part of it, not to mention what we're going to need for the outside part of it. for the playgrounds, you know, to wash the swings continuously. There's going to be set guidelines with that, and like I said, I'm hoping to have a clear answer sooner than later.
So you would, if you do have a program this summer, would you charge the same amount of money for the child as you have in the past, or would you have to increase that?
Well, that's a discussion that I think I have to have with, you know, you guys as well as with Austin and Anna, because just my experience working at the food bank and talking to some people that are in need, that probably wouldn't be in need if this didn't happen. I'm not sure how the economy is going to be and what we can charge. We've gone up every year a certain amount to get to our goals, and I think that's why we're doing better and we're a little healthier in our account. But that's a great question. I don't know really what we would charge based on what we'd be able to offer. If we'd be able to not be able to offer the same thing, less time, more time. But to answer your question on that, we've put together a survey we're sending out next week on the Survey Monkey, the town of Winthrop one, hoping to get some feedback on what people would pay and would be able to do. I know some towns, and we're probably not able to do this and not charging anything if they have anything, because they feel like, you know, some of the people are taking it on the chin the last couple of months, and we don't know what the summer's going to look like. So that is a good question. I would like to at least be able to level fund that and charge the same if we could. And I've also, you know, people with them are great. They're very generous, and especially ones that pick up the phone and call you or email you saying, if anything you need to make your summer happen, let us know. I'll get donations. I'll do whatever. And we're very, very appreciative of that. But again, to sustain it, we're going to have to charge some type of fee, I believe, to make it be able to work.
I guess that was going to be my next question. If you do level fund and you have kids that can't afford, you would find the means probably to help out with those?
Yeah, so I'm fortunate to have a list of probably a steady 5 or 6 people in the community and outside the community that I know that would fund some kids in need. And also a program where, you know, they could do some volunteer hours somewhere, whether for us or somewhere else, to make up what they got, paid for their program. And that's been working over the years. Like, you know, Mike's Winthrop Charities has been great. You know, local business people, and some of them don't like to be named, are great. You know, it's strange. It's funny how some people realize that people struggle even before this. Now it's going to be even worse. So I'm thinking that we're going to have to put together a plan on that, because we are going to obviously have those situations that are going to come up that we wouldn't be.
Thanks, Sean.
Anybody else have any questions for Sean? No? Okay, well, Sean, thank you for your time and your presentation, and we will work with you and Anna on these issues of getting funding. Okay,
just one thing to keep in mind before I close out here is also, Anna, I want to just bring up the gym revenue as well, and the gym expense. Expenses are pretty low except for the heat and the oil, as you know, but we also had to cancel a lot of programming from March 13th up until, I'm going to say, probably this week, not Labor Day, Memorial Day, and then people usually got outside. But we are going to see some different revenue structure there. We had a refund for a lot of prepaid birthday parties and stuff. So keep that in mind when you look at that revolving fund. It's taken a hit as well. And as you know, we have the church. We have one steady church that comes in every Sunday, and they take up the whole year, which is a good chunk of our revenue there, and they've been closed for a while. So just keep that in mind. That's pretty, you know, standard. And we also know we're still located in the old middle school in the back. A lot of people don't realize where we are and what we're doing. We're the only people in here, and we're trying to do the best of what we have. But eventually, and all my goals and all my needs is obviously a permanent place, because this place isn't going to be here forever. It would be great to have a great community center someday, but I think now that's even more of a dream with everything going on in the world. So just keep that stuff in mind. That's all I ask, and thank you for the time.
And Sean, if I can, any, and I know you probably don't have anything now, but tennis courts, the roller rink, park, multi-purpose court, any thoughts? I mean, I guess we're all in limbo waiting what happens. Do you think when those are open, for example, the tennis courts, it's just the tennis courts may be similar to what it was in the past? The roller rink, I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, you listen to other communities and stuff, and everyone's expecting a decline in outside recreational activity. The people that are close together. Now, tennis is a little different. It's almost very similar to the golf. You know, the skate park, the hockey, soccer camp that we run have already been canceled. If they're going to request people to be, 6 feet apart or more, it's going to be hard to run certain programs. And I think you'll see a decline in people taking part in activities just on the fear factor until we can get a better grip on what's going on in the country with this whole thing. So going forward, Jim, to answer your question, I think right now people are, busting down the door to get in. I mean, they're cutting chains that we lock up at the tennis courts to play. They're going on the skate thing, and it's hard. And I think you'll eventually see a lot of people out, but I don't know. It's really it's every time I think I have an idea to do something, something comes up to knock it down, with this. So I'm hoping I'm wrong.
I'm wondering, my understanding is I know FMC Rinks has talked to the governor and there's some sort of talk on when they're opening. I'm wondering if there is some agreement on how an ice rink can operate, if that can be incorporated almost into a roller rink.
Yeah, they mentioned that. The governor's office mentioned that to me, that they were working hard with the indoor facilities right now, which is, I'm assuming, the rink. So I think some of the guidelines would be the same for that. And I hope, like I said, I'm hoping to know more by Memorial Day, exactly where we stand and what we can do and what we can't do. And then we get back to the drawing board as a staff and try to come up with the best possible scenario for the people from Winthrop here and the kids of Winthrop.
Thanks, Sean.
All right, James.
Okay, thank you, Sean.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Take
Good
care.
night. So our next budget is not a large one, but we wanted to talk about, it's the MIS budget. And Anna, I guess you're willing to go over that?
Sure. So I'm just going to pull up the page for MIS. Let's see, my end. Do you mind if I just share my screen? That might be easiest for me just to walk you through. Okay. 1 second here. Okay. So the big thing to know here, all in all, there's really no new there's actually an overall decrease in the MIS budget from the FY20 budget. A lot of this is moving some funds around. So I'll just go line by line really quick. So the permanent employees line, the variance you see there of a decrease of over 33,000, that's as a result of shifting our project manager, Tanji Safuni, a portion of her salary that was previously paid out of MIS where she was managing the technology. Her responsibilities have been shifted to community development work, and so that portion of her salary, other portions of her salary are paid out from the ferry and other E.B. Newton. That portion of her salary has now been moved to the grants office to support the planning department initiative that Austin, I believe, will be speaking to you about. So that's the only adjustment there. That leaves our one employee in that office. The longevity that's associated with the employee that was shifted over, that followed that employee. And then looking down there, just I think we had some small savings on our alarm bill. We just aligned that more with what the recent costs have been for that. Training services, there's a reduction there because part of that was shifted over. And then the big changes down in the middle here for the annual license costs. I'm actually going to give you a breakdown on those. Give me 1 second. Actually, so it was our original, the base budget was $117,000. And I should just say before I continue, none of this amount of money right here is pulling against the general fund. We are transferring funds in from our technology fund to pay for the final year of the OpenGov budgeting contract, which I believe is $35,400, and the Zen City contract, which Austin can speak better to than I can. Those two together, minus a couple other pieces of software that we canceled because we felt that they were duplicative. We canceled a ticketing software that we had because we've now outsourced a lot of our IT work to Retrofit, which was paid for in the budget for FY20. We no longer needed this internal ticketing process because Retrofit handled that for us. And we also canceled this other program that we also determined to be duplicative. So that saved us money. So the net effect of adding the OpenGov and the Zen City onto here is just 40,000. Just to make sure that there isn't any confusion, we've been paying the OpenGov invoice each year. We've been doing it via transfer in the middle of the year, which isn't the best way to do that. And so what this is showing is that expense, and then it's showing the transfer. It's just aligning the expenditure and the transfer during the budget process, which is the way that it should be done at the beginning of the year rather than in the middle of the year. So that's just showing that cost there. And then at the bottom, we determined that we no longer needed to sort of carry this $7,000 for replacement computer equipment. Frankly, it's not. I wouldn't say that number is necessarily informed by something specific in terms of what it was previously. We also received a grant that the Speaker Giglio helped us to receive for technology capital improvements, and so we are making large-scale upgrades to computer equipment right now. So that would mitigate the need to have these funds set aside. So in light of where the budget is, ideally, what I like to have, like, $1,500 or something sitting there in case something goes wrong, probably. But in light of where the budget was, we felt that was in excess of what would be appropriate at this point. So we've zeroed that out for now. And I think those are the highlights. I'll stop sharing unless folks want to talk about anything specific on this page, and I can answer any questions that you have. And apologies, my phone's dying. That's why you're hearing a weird noise.
Anybody have any questions for Ann on this particular budget? And I'm not sure I followed you. You said that some of the technology funds come from non-general fund money. They come from grants and other. Okay.
Yep. So let me pull up on. I think it's in this one. I've already forgotten.
That's all right. No,
sorry about that. It's from the technology funds. The technology fund that we have, our Comcast funds that we've been doing. There was a transfer that we did last year, and those funds have been used to support the OpenGov contract the past 2 years, and so it will continue to support it in the final year. I think it's actually in our budget message. So I'll just scroll down to show you where it is. Here it is. Technology fund.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so those are being used to offset technology costs in the budget this year.
Okay.
So obviously, so the FY21 is the final year of our initial OpenGov contract. And so should the town negotiate to continue utilizing those services with them, that would be something that would eventually need to come onto the general fund. I think that that's an open item for FY22 and a larger conversation about sort of how we'll utilize their services. I think, speaking from my experience with them, I think it's been very helpful in terms of launching the interactive budget and helping sort of provide a more formalized internal process. I would recommend that be continued, that relationship be continued, but it would be something that would be, this technology fund is not the place to continue to pull from to pay for that. It's something we've been doing to sort of get this up and running and get through these tight budget times. But in the future, that should be something that should come onto the operating budget. We had hoped to bring it on, full transparency, we had hoped to bring it onto the budget this year to the general fund. I had it as a general fund item until we started getting updated numbers and seeing how tight things were getting. And so I went back to the technology fund, which is not my first choice because it's a one-time revenue to support that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on this budget?
I have, Bob, this is Bill.
Yeah, Bill.
Question, comment on MIS, loosely related to the budget. I asked before MIS, and I think for management information systems, or
Yep.
So I just kind of a pet peeve of mine. In a mission statement, they call themselves the Department of Information Technology. It's an IT department. I know it used to be called MIS. I think it's confusing. If somebody from the town wants to look at the budget online, they want to look at the IT department, they have to figure, what is this MIS? It doesn't mean anything. So it just seems... That
makes complete sense. I will. I think it's been a little informal. I think in the way that it has been listed in our budget in the past. So I will definitely take that as a note. And I will even go in. I can actually live update on the online piece of it, and I'm happy to rename it as Department of Information Technology online. If we call it MIS internally for accounting purposes, then that we know what it is, but people on the outside agree they wouldn't have any idea what that means.
Right, thank
That's
you.
the point we'll take. I'll fix that.
All right, well, we've gone through all of the budgets that we're going to meet with tonight. We have a meeting on the 21st. We'll meet again with about 5 or 6 other budget department heads to discuss their budgets. And I believe we have to clarify this, but I think we'll have a representative from the ferry there as well. So before we go any further, Anna, do you have any information relative to the overall budgets that you want to share?
I don't have any specific updates for today, other than to just say that we're working on continuing to work on the updated revenue analysis. I made some progress on that today, and so I'll be prepared to give an update on that next Thursday with more specifics in terms of what we're seeing for real estate and personal property taxes and other revenues that are coming in, so we can see how the COVID-19 is impacting people's ability to pay or otherwise, or just because of things that are stopped, how things are maybe changing in relation to that.
Okay. And I know the council is meeting Tuesday night. Is there, I apologize for not knowing this, but are you going to have a hearing on the budget on Tuesday night? Any Jim or Richard or Tracy, do you know?
I don't believe there is on the, let me take a quick look.
I think the budget hearing was, I think there was a general public hearing on the budget that was continued.
Right. That's what I meant, the public hearing on the budget that the council.
Right, it was on the last agenda, and I believe it was continued. Because I know statutory, we need to.
It needs to be put in the local paper.
Yes, it was. I asked that question at the last meeting. They said it was advertised.
Okay.
We did bring it up at the last meeting. We had no public input, no comment on it. But it was advertised and was, on the agenda last meeting.
Oh, so
It's
on the last
on
meeting.
for
Okay.
Tuesday on old business. Did you hear that?
And it's continued. The public hearing was continued.
Okay, so it'll be.
And it's
taken
on
up
the
this
agenda and
Tuesday.
business for this Tuesday's meeting.
Okay, all right,
It'll be still on the agenda to be taken.
all right. And then, so we do have our meeting a week from today. We'll be meeting with the town administrative finance offices, treasurer collector, Anna, and so forth. But we also talked at the last meeting, perhaps having a meeting without budget discussion, without department heads discussing individual budgets, so that we could talk about our overall view of the budget and recommendations for the town council. And I suggested the 18th or the 20th. I realize now the 18th probably won't work because I don't think we can get it posted properly. But that leaves Wednesday the 20th as an option. And of course, we can always, and we'll probably have to meet the week after. So the Tuesday after the council meeting, which is also the day after the Memorial Day holiday. What day would that be?
26th.
26th, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming that the council's going to want to discuss and make their final decision on the budget, unless there's any extensions or changes. The first meeting in June, which is what has been the pattern in the past. So what do you think about meeting next week on perhaps Wednesday night, the 20th, to just talk about what we picked up, what our concerns are, what thoughts we might have relative to the budget, the problems the COVID-19 brings to it, and so forth, and start working on our recommendation.
That's fine.
Okay? Jan's okay with that. Anybody else?
Sounds good.
So the time, the 20th is okay?
Yep.
That's fine.
Okay, then we'll put that on the calendar then too.
So you want me to post it for Wednesday, the 20th?
If you would, yes.
Okay.
Bob, would you like me to be at that meeting, and would you prefer that I give the revenue update on Wednesday instead of on Thursday? I think it should be ready. I could probably have it ready Wednesday night. That should be fine on my end, just so you would have that, the most recent FY20 projections, which would then impact sort of thinking for how that might trend into FY21.
If you can have it, you're welcome to join us with or without that information. If you have it, that's fine.
Okay. Okay.
That'll be fine. Okay, does anybody else have anything you'd like to discuss or talk about this evening? No? Okay, then we will meet next Wednesday, the 20th, to talk about the budget and our view and start forming our recommendation. And we'll meet on the 21st to have the final round of department meetings.
So the 20th, we'll still have somebody from town hall attend. But the 26th will be on our own, so we can discuss on our own.
Well, the 20th we'll be on our own, and Anna's going to join us, but we won't have any
Well,
budget.
that's not on our own. This is what I mean. Not that I don't like Anna, but you know what I mean.
Hey, it is a public meeting. Watch out. I'll be in the attendance. I'm just kidding.
That's fine. That's fine.
I respect your deliberative process.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just,
the other thought might be we actually might be able to meet in the Harvey room.
Yes,
Depending on what the
hopefully.
governor.
ha, ha.
It would be so much nicer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll plan on the 20th. Barbara, you'll post that tomorrow if you could.
Yes.
Carla, and then 21st, and then we'll probably have to meet that last week in May too, just to finalize things. Am I right, though, I asked the council members that you intend to probably take up the budget on that first meeting in June? Is that...
Yeah, I think that is the plan. Again, depending on, I'm hoping that's the plan. I mean, I guess there's a possibility that, it could be put off. We could do a 1/12 budget. I'm not a huge fan of that, but, there could be some adjustments, but yes, the plan is first meeting in June.
Is that 1/12 budget going to be on your agenda for tomorrow night?
I'm assuming, no, I guess it's not. No, I know it's not on the agenda. I'm sorry, Anna, why don't you weigh in?
Oh, apologies. I didn't mean to speak over you. We have not submitted. So if the council chooses to take up a 1/12 budget, there's no need to, there's a motion that would need to occur, but there's no need for that to be voted on at the next meeting. I don't believe that a discussion on that is on the agenda for the next meeting, but I briefed the council president on the information that I've shared with those on this meeting as well, so he's aware of that. And so I think I'm just looking to, whenever the council would like to speak about that, I'm happy to send over the draft language for their consideration.
I think the plan is still to vote on the first meeting in June, as of now.
Okay. All right. And let's see, there's a question coming in from Wendy Millard Page. I wish I knew how to operate this system better.
It says public hearing not in paper again this week. I know I did ask at our last council meeting, so that was a week ago Tuesday, and Denise said that it was advertised. I'm not sure, so I'm just going by what Denise said. I can't say I saw it in the paper. I know Denise did say at the council meeting that it was in the paper.
Okay. All right. Well, again, we can check the last week of the transcript. Does anybody else know if anybody else seen it? I didn't look for it, so.
Bob, if I could just jump in, I haven't checked the paper, but I know from experience that sometimes you can email the transcript 4 and 5 times. It doesn't mean it's going to go in. So
I think it might have been in the paper 2 weeks ago, but I can't swear to that. But we will find that out and make sure that it's discussed. Yes.
I'll follow up with a transcript tomorrow and I'll let you folks know.
Okay.
Are you planning to meet on the 28th as well?
We haven't gone that, we'll probably meet that week. We haven't picked a date that week.
Okay, could we do that, or could your committee do that as soon as they're able, only because I have a Board of Appeals meeting that night, and I just want to make sure that Larissa or Denise is free as well. I don't know how many other meetings are going on, but that's been notices to abutters, and it can't be moved.
Oh, you know what, Carl, we'll probably meet on the Tuesday, the day after Memorial Day. We'll probably meet Tuesday.
Okay, perfect.
Because we've got to get our recommendation to the council as soon as possible that week. So, yeah, we couldn't wait until the 28th. We're going to meet on the 26th, I think it is, Karen?
Yes, it is, 26.
Great, that works
26th.
perfectly.
Yep.
Okay. All right, good. Anybody else have anything questions, comments, anything to add?
So it's the 20th, the 21st, and the 26th?
Yes. Yep. 20th, 21st.
The 26th.
Okay, I'll confirm this in an email tomorrow. Well,
Okay.
I'll maybe do it tonight while it's still fresh in my mind and I can remember it. Okay. All right, very good. Well, thank you. We don't have any minutes ready from last week. They'll be ready for next week.
No.
So unless anybody else does anything else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second,
Second?
all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? No. All right, well, thank you all very, very much. Have a
Thanks,
good evening.
Thank you, Bob.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
Take care, everyone.
Good night.